Hey everyone, and welcome to the Lab 5 demonstration. In this lab, we're going to be using ArcMap, which is a program only compatible with Windows. So we'll be working in Udesk, just so everyone has access to the software. So to start this lab, you're going to want to navigate to udesk.appstate.edu, and if you just Google AppState Udesk, make sure you click on version 2.1. Then you want to log in. You might have to log in a couple times if you get asked for a Microsoft login. It should just be your school username and password. That should be what you use the entire step of the way while you're logging in. Once you get to this screen, select Geography and Planning. And again, log in with your university credentials. And it'll look like you're logging onto any computer in the library or in the geography department. It can take a little bit of time, and then once you're in, you'll get to this screen. Once you're into Udesk, we're going to come up to this uStore folder, and if you've been backing up your files, this should look familiar. We want to come down to a folder called Geo Plan Class, navigate to classes, and the classes you are in for the semester will be listed here, and then find your username, and we have to create a new folder. So we are going to name this Lab 5, and as usual, we're going to create another folder called Data. From here, once you have your data folder set, we are going to be using data from the US Census, and specifically something called Tiger Line. So the easiest way to get to that is going to be to navigate to As You Learn in Chrome. And one important thing to note in Udesk is you'll see I have two taskbars down here. Make sure you're using the top one, and also when you open up something like Google Chrome, it can kind of be easy to confuse the controls. So just again, make sure that you are using the right window browser and such within Udesk. But so navigate to our class and As You Learn, and get to the Lab 5 document. Your As You Learn will look a little different than mine, and you can click to access the instructions, and then come down to the link here, and it will take you to the US Census Bureau Tiger Line. We want to get to 2010, so you want to come click on More 2010, and you're going to want to navigate down to Demographic Profile 1, Shapefile Format, and we want State Legislative Districts Lower Chamber. So you can click on that, and it might take a second to download, but we'll resume once that is downloaded. So this is just going to be a little extra video. I had a lot of trouble downloading this. Just simply clicking on it didn't initiate the download, so I had to come down to inspect, and this essentially opens up the computer code. This is how the actual HTML is written. So if you highlight over each clickable link is written as a division. So if you highlight over the state legislative district and you expand that drop down menu, you can come down, and this right here, this link is the actual zip. You'll scroll over and you'll see you want to make sure it's SLDL 2010 census, and you can click on that, and then that will actually initiate the download. So it's kind of confusing. It's a really roundabout way, but your pathway should be the exact same. So if you're having trouble, you can do that too, and that should set you straight. Once your file is downloaded, it'll appear right here. You can just click on that and it'll take you to the file manager and show you the contents. To get back to where it is, to extract it, you can just click downloads or navigate to downloads, whatever is easier for you. And we're going to click extract all. We want to browse to our Lab 5 folder. So when you come down here, geoplanning class. I have lab 5, and then we want to extract that to our data folder. And you can hit select folder. It'll bring you back to this screen and make sure that that file pathway looks correct. You want to make sure it's the F drive, and go ahead and click extract. And it might take a little while, so we will come back when that's complete. Once that's extracted, it'll be in your data folder in your lab 5, and we're going to go ahead and open this Excel sheet, the table descriptions. So you can just double click and Excel will open within UDesk, and you don't need to sign in just to view the sheet. And you can go ahead and just kind of see what the sheet has. This will be useful to answer question 2, and it will be useful later on. So we can keep that open but minimize it, and we'll go ahead and actually open ArcMap. So to do that, you want to come to the Start tab. Again, make sure it's the right Start tab in ArcGIS, and scroll down to ArcMap right here, and it might take a second to open. When you first open up ArcMap, this is what it'll look like. This getting started window is just to quick resume a project, but you don't really need it, so we'll exit that out. And then immediately, similar to QGIS, we're going to save this project as. So come down to Save As, open File, and navigate to your drive. So GeoPlan class, classes, here, your name, your lab 5 folder, and save this as your username underscore lab 5, and go ahead and press save. So similar to QGIS, make sure you're saving frequently. Now that you have the save as established, you can just quick save like that, or Control S. You can pretty much save after every step. That's my advice. And now once we're set, we're going to want to open the catalog window. Yours might just be open over here like mine. I can click on it, but if not, you can come up to Windows and click on catalog, and it'll bring you right there. If your home folder is minimized, go ahead and press the plus to expand it, and you should see your saved document. And from there, go ahead and expand the data folder, and you should see the shape file, the SLDL, that was the Southern Legislative District Lower, and the Excel table that we inspected a little bit earlier. From here, we want to click and drag the shapefile into the layers table of contents, and it will appear slowly but surely. And again, it'll just random auto-generate a color, so yours might not look exactly like this. Once your shapefile looks like this, Nebraska might not fully load for you. Either you can go ahead and zoom into North Carolina. You can use either your scroll or the magnifying glasses or the fixed zoom in. I think it's easiest for my personal setup to use the magnifying glass. If you have a good scroll with your mouse, that's awesome. Mine is not amazing, so I prefer the magnifying glass, but however you want to get there is fine. And as you can see, it'll take a second while you're zooming. But once you get about that zoomed in, you can use the pan tool as well to center it. Now we want to use a Geo ID. So to do that, we need to come up to this identification button, and we are going to click on some districts. So if you click on them, they'll give you some information. It takes a little bit to load, but just bear with it. And you'll notice things can be a little slower on UDesk. It's obviously because you're remoting in, so this is a remote connection. And I am not currently near App State's campus, so this is taking a little while for me. Once it loads, you want to note the first two digits of the Geo ID 10 right here. So you can see it's 37. And if you close out of that and select a different district, you can see that the first two numbers are the same. Now we want to use a query builder. So we want to close out of the Geo ID and come over to our layers. You can either right click and go to properties at the bottom, or you can simply double click and that will bring them up. And we want to come over to this definition query and query builder. And so it's important here that you use the exact formula. So we want to select 37 because North Carolina's Geo ID is 37, so all legislative districts will start with 37 as we just found out. So to get the equation we want, come up here, double click on Geo ID, and then is greater than or equal to, and here make sure you're using the correct quotations, 37,000, and the quote, and then you want to click on this and then Geo ID again, and then less than, again quotes, 38,000, and the quotes, and press OK. After that, go ahead and click apply, and you'll notice in the background that the North Carolina has been outlined only with those legislative districts, but you don't want to close out of this properties just yet. So just apply. That should happen if you did the formula right. If not, go back and try it again. Make sure you're not typing in and. Make sure you're selecting it. You could encounter a problem with that. And do not click OK yet. Just click apply. From the properties, you want to navigate to source and make a note of this information. This will help you answer question 4. So you want to look for the coordinate system, datum, and unit to answer the question. And then once you have that, you can go ahead and press OK. From here, now that you've closed out, you can see that only North Carolina is left. So now we want to actually use a project tool to project the data. So you want to come up and click on this toolbox icon, and it might take a while. Again, Udesk can be slow. You're also technically, when you're in Udesk, you're pulling from a shared computer lab. So like lots of users are on the server at the same time. We'll come back when this is loaded. Once the toolbox is loaded, it'll look like this. On the panel, it should overtake the catalog. And we want to go to Data Management Tools and hit that plus button. From there, we want to go to Projections and Transformations, and then double click this project tool. It'll open over here. For input dataset or feature class, we want to select the only option available, that one, and for output, you want to, for output feature class, you want to navigate through here and make sure it's being saved in your Lab 5 data folder. So open that, and then you can name this. Oh, sorry, that was in the wrong shift. You can name this SLDL underscore 2010 census underscore DP1 underscore project, and click save. Then for the output coordinate system, we want to click this hand icon over here to browse to the coordinate systems. And under projected coordinate systems, you want to expand it, and then expand state plane, and then expand the NAD 1983 US feet down here. And we want to select the option the only option for North Carolina. So if you scroll down, you will see, gotta go a little further, scroll down, this is the only option, this FIPS 3200. Make sure that one is selected and press OK. From here, press OK again once your screen looks like this. And in a second, it should add to the table of contents. So your file might automatically add, but mine did not. So to manually add it, we're going to go to File and Add Data, and then click Add Data again. Hopefully it will take you right to your home folder. Mine did not, so I'll have to navigate to, there we go. And it's right where we saved it, so you can just add that manually like that, and it will appear. You can remove this layer if you wanted to, but I'm probably going to hold on to it to now. You can just right click and remove it, but for our purposes, it might be easier to just uncheck it. Now in that new layer we just added in the project layer, we want to double click and open the properties, and you want to make note and review the new spatial information, and use that to answer question 5. And when you're done, go ahead and press OK. So now we need to change the projection, not just of the individual file, but of the entire project. So to do that, we're going to come up to Layers and double click, and that will open the properties. Yours will likely open, we'll first navigate to the coordinate system, and then yours will likely open with Canada expanded. Go ahead and minimize that and expand layers. And the layer we want to select is this NAD 1983. So click that, and then you can click Apply and OK, and that will close the properties. And as you can see, the map projection looks different. So now we're going to change the symbology in the project layer based on the attribute table. So come up to here, right click and open the attribute table. And yours might appear in a window, or it might be linked to the bottom, but you want to notice the attributes here, and we'll refer back to this Excel sheet that we left open in a little bit to match the DP code values. From here you can go ahead and close the attribute table. And we are going to make a lot of changes to the symbology. So in this same layer, you can double click or right click and get the properties and head over to Symbology. And so remember the Symbology, all the steps we take, you can press Apply to see what it looks like before finalizing with OK. And if you don't like how something looks, you can always cancel. So the first thing we want to do here is in this show features, or in this show, it'll probably be on features, but we want to get to quantities and graduated colors. From here, you can scroll over to the value field, and if you drop it down, you'll notice that there's all these codes, but we don't know what they mean. Specifically for ArcMap, we want to show the number of people identifying as Black or African American alone or in combination with one or more races. So to do this, we will need to decipher these codes by using that Excel sheet. So if you get back to that, you should have it minimized, or you can just open it from your file manager. Once you have that open, the easiest thing to do is Control F, and you can simply type in Black or, and that should give you enough to work with. So if you click on Find Next, that will bring you to the first result, and you'll see Black or African American, but we are looking for the alone or in combination with one or more other races, so that's not the one we're looking for. The next one, again, does not have what we're looking for. This third one under race, total races tallied, this is the DP number we are looking for, so you can see that that is DP 0090002. So we can go back to ArcMap now that we know our code and scroll down. So be careful scrolling here. There's not a much better way to like search and get the target, but that is the one we're looking for. So you can click on that and select that, so it will load from there. And you'll see that it comes up with these auto-populated ranges, but that should be what it looks like. Now we want to add a normalization because each district has a different number of people living there. and we want to be able to compare it, so we need a common normalization. So to do this, we're going to use percentage of population rather than the raw number. So that first DP value 000 or 001 0001 is the one we want. You can go ahead and select that, and you should get some decimal ranges, and that is the normalization step. For color, next to the color ramp, you want to select a range that's going to be easiest displayed. It's probably best if you keep it with one solid color. I think the light green to dark green works really well. Typically, you want your dark range associated with the higher values. Again, try to keep it to one color. You can get kind of carried away there, and then your map isn't really readable, and that's not the purpose. So just select a good one that will be easy to read. After you have your color ramp selected, we want to format the labels. So come to this label heading, not the label tab, this label heading, and click on it, and it will give you the option to format labels. From here, we want to click percentage and then select this one that this number represents a fraction, adjust it to show a percentage. With that selected, you want to click numeric options and change the number of decimals in the rounding to 0. And you can click OK, and then OK. Now we want to come up to classification and make sure that the number of classes is 5. But from here we want to classify, and you want to change the method under classification from natural breaks to equal interval. And go ahead and press OK. And so now we're done changing the symbology, so you can go ahead and press apply and see how your map turns out. And if you're happy with it, you can click OK. It might take a second to load, but once you have a good view of it, you can zoom to the layers. I'm going to go ahead and press OK because I'm confident in how mine will turn out. And there we go. There is my products. And this is a great place to go ahead and save. So for part 3, we're going to create 2 maps. This first one is going to be the equal interval. So to create a layout view, we need to come up here to this view and then click layout. So right now that was in the data view. We could actually change the shapefile, but now we're going to create an image of the map. So the first thing you do once this comes up, don't worry about adjusting it because we're going to change the orientation. So to do that, you want to come up to File and then Page and Print Setup. And besides orientation, change it to Landscape. And that is now in Landscape view. So now we want to center the data, which is our data frame. So you can do that either using the dotted line, click and drag, but an easier method is to simply right click within the frame and then come over to distribute and click on fit to margins, and that will center your data frame box. And now to actually fill the document, we want to come over to the layer tab and then click on zoom to layer, and now you can see it is evenly centered within the map. So similar to the lab last week where we added the 5 elements with the title, legend, scale bar, north arrow, and citation, we're going to do the same thing here. So the first thing we're going to do is put in a title. So you want to navigate up here to insert and then title, and it's a little different. You don't have to draw the box on this one, and just name your map something effective that's going to display what we're showing. Make sure it doesn't have the words map or title in it. I'm going to call mine 2010 African American population by North Carolina legislative district, and press OK, and your title will appear. So now you can double click on your title to change the symbols and like size and positions of it. You can add character spacing here, and then you can also go to, I'm going to go ahead and make mine 10, and then you can also go to change symbol and play around with the font and color. And once you're done with that and you like how it looks, you can press OK and then apply, and you can see how it looks. And if you like it, you can press OK again, or you can press cancel to revert to the original. So come up with a good font and color and style choice so that it's readable. And you can reposition your title by clicking and dragging. So now we want to add a legend now that the title is set, so you come up to insert and then legend. With the legend wizard open, we want to make sure that under legend items here that the project is there. And after that, we can go ahead and click next. And you can change the legend title. Don't just leave it as legend. We can make this percentage. And I'll keep it in style with my title. So I will change the font. And then we can click next. You can add a border or background for just a blank white canvas like this. I wouldn't personally add a border, but it's up to you. If you think one looks good, go for it. And you can press next and then click next again and then finish. And your legend will appear. So we want to pull this over here, and that's what your legend will initially look like. Now that our legend's here, we want to get rid of this extra SLDL information. So to do that, double click on the legend and the legend properties will open. You want to come over to items and choose style down here. A really good one for this lab will be horizontal single symbol layer only. Go ahead and choose that and then click OK and then apply. And you can see that it changed it, and now we have a very readable legend. And you can press OK again. You can click and drag your legend, and you can also use the blue squares to resize. Once you have your legend how you like it, if you'll notice, mine was pretty small. I resized a little bit, and it's easier to read. It also, sometimes your word, like whatever your legend title, can be a little jumbled. If you resize it, that should fix it. So now we're going to insert a scale bar. So come on back up to insert scale bar and find one you like. I personally like this simple one, and don't get too carried away with it because we are gonna reduce it even more. So a simple effective scale bar is best here. Once that's there, you can click and drag to reposition, use the blue boxes to resize, and then you can double click to open the scale bar properties. We want to make the number of divisions 2 and the same with the number of the subdivisions. So you can either type that in or click, and then you can press apply and see that it's changed. You want to make sure also that your division units is miles, and the label we are going to change to simply all lowercase mi and click apply. And then you can play around with the font, the color, and stuff by clicking on symbol. So once you have your legend how you like it, go ahead and press OK. Next on the items is the north arrow. So again, insert north arrow, and it will give you plenty of options. Again, probably best to keep it simple, easy to read. Now we are going to double click on this, but it's harder to do when it's smaller, so you can make it a little bigger, and then it's easier to get into those properties. You can change the size, the font, the color, and as always, just press OK or apply and OK. I'm gonna just keep it as is. I think this is an effective north arrow, just like that. Finally, we're gonna add these citations. So insert, and this one is just going to be text. Your text will come up very small and usually somewhere kind of random. The best way to click and drag it is to wait for that crosshair arrow to come up before you do that. And then you can click it and it'll allow you to change the text from here. So what we want to include again is the map creator, which is your name, the date you created the map, and the source of the data, and this source was the US Census Bureau, so source US Census Bureau. And you can change the font, spacing, and change symbol will allow you to change the color and size, and as always, apply. Okay, I think that's good as is. Again, I like to keep my citations pretty minimal. So now just review, make sure your map looks good. We are essentially done, so make sure that you're happy with how everything looks and take the time that there's no errors and that everything is how you like it. Now the map is done, we want to save and export, so come up to File, Save, and then we want to export this as a PDF, so come up to File and Export Map. This window will appear. Make sure that it is in your lab folder and not in just the general ArcGIS location. You can navigate back through your F drive. Be careful not to work in the O drive. We want the F drive. And get back to your lab 5 folder. And we are going to call this your username equal interval map. And save type as, we want PDF. And you're encouraged, if you want to include this in a portfolio or anything like that, you can play around with JPEG or something else that you would like. And then go ahead and press save. And you'll see the progress down there, and it should say export complete. So to compare the classification methods, we're just going to duplicate the map we just created, but change the classification methods from equal interval to quantile. So while still in this layout mode, you want to draw a crosshair. You should be able to do this just with the point and click tool selected and select everything. And then you want to right click and select group. And that will group everything together. From there, you want to press Control C to copy, or you can right click and copy and then press Control V, and it should completely duplicate your map. So with that done, we want to make sure we have our duplicated map selected. It should be a little bit off the frame, and we want to drag it further off the frame so that you can still reach back to it, but that it's not going to be within your current frame, and the frame is highlighted by this little shadow. And then from there, once you have that selected, we're going to come up to this top layer. That's the newly created layer, and we want to rename this. So you can double click it and then come over to general, and it'll say name, and we want to rename this quantile. Press OK. And then on the bottom layer, we're going to select that and rename this one. This was our equal interval, so that's what we will name it, equal interval, and press OK. So now for the second map, we want to change the classification. So come up to quantile, and we want to come down to this layer, double click on the project layer, and over here come to classify, and we want to change this from equal interval to quantile. And go ahead and press OK. So then we'll press apply and OK. And you'll notice the change here. They dropped percentage, but other than that, everything else still should be the same. The percentage auto updated, but our legend, title, scale bar, everything else is still the same. Now we have the quantile map. We are done with the lab. We are just going to save in the same way. So we want to come up to File, Export Map, and make sure you have the right one selected, and rename this one. Navigate back to that lab 5 folder. Rename this one your username and quantile. Make sure it is PDF. And again, if you want to save it for a portfolio or any other purposes, you're free to select the file you want, but the PDFs are what you will be submitting. So go ahead and press save. And again, you can check the status of it down here. And that is it for what you need to produce. Make sure you submit both maps and your answer question sheets, and feel free to reach out to me or Professor Anderson with any questions.